Hey everyone, it's Ben with the BTC Sessions. It is Canadian Thanksgiving, so I'm taking a little breather today, but I do have a video for you guys this week. This was filmed actually about a week and a half ago when I was in Montreal and Quebec City. I got to meet up with Francis Pouliot, who I have done an interview with in the past. So I will leave you with this video. I hope you enjoy it. But if you're Canadian, then happy Thanksgiving. I'll see you guys next week.
Oh girl, I guess we were stuck in the thick of it. If you love me, won't you come down from that
Hello everyone, I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. I'm here in Montreal with
Francis Pouliot.
Yes, and we had an interview a month ago, right?
Right.
Yes, and actually, can you just tell if everybody that doesn't know where you're from, like what your background is, or rather what companies you've been involved with?
Right, so I'm a Montrealer born and raised. I've been involved with the Bitcoin Embassy, which is the world's first Bitcoin hub, which was downtown Montreal. I'm involved with Satoshi Portal, which operates bills.
Yeah.
So a company which lets Canadians pay their bills and other people with Bitcoin. And I'm also involved with a company called Catallaxy, which is a blockchain Bitcoin expertise and research center funded by Quebec's Grant Thornton branch, Raymond Chabot Grant Thornton.
Awesome, awesome. And where are we right now?
So right now we're in the middle of Montreal. It's hard to believe. We're entering the Mount Royal, which is the mountain at the center of Montreal. And we're just in the middle of the Mount Royal Park right now.
Awesome. All right, so we're gonna do some hiking. This is just a fun extra video I decided to put up this week since I was in Montreal and got to meet Francis here. Yeah, we're gonna hike up this mountain, and whenever we take a little breather or stop somewhere for a view, we'll chat some Bitcoin and crypto. So here we go.
All right, see you later.
All right, so we made it to the top. Wasn't too bad. I don't think it was that big of a, you know. It's hot as hell today though, so yeah, not a bad day to do it. But I'm sweating balls here. So last time I spoke with you, it was pre Bcash, Bitcoin Cash fork, and it was before SegWit activated on mainnet. So it was kind of an uncertain time that we were speaking, so there's a lot of tension in the industry. I feel like now, Bcash has split off kind of on their own. They're doing their thing, which is fine. They can have their project. That's the beauty of crypto, right? But we've got SegWit on mainnet as well, and so I feel like there's more of a I want to say positive or optimistic feel in the industry as of late. There's a lot of stuff on the horizon. Is there anything that stands out to you that you're excited to see in the coming months or year or whatever?
Well, the activation of SegWit allows for two really interesting phenomena to happen. The first one is that all the developers that were kind of busy working on SegWit, the integration, the testing of it, the promotion of it, they're now free. They now have free time to do other projects. So that's been really interesting to see those guys start to get more active on some of the other open source projects that we're trying to get into Bitcoin, either at the protocol level or other meta protocols, timestamping, and all those kind of stuff. And the second thing is that since the activation of SegWit, we've seen a lot of activity in the smart contract sphere on top of Bitcoin, specifically Lightning Network. So we now have 3 working implementations of Lightning Network that have each wallets and clients, very nice user experience. Some of the businesses are already integrating Lightning Network. It appears that it's not that hard to do. It's not super easy. It's not that hard. My company Bills, we're going to be integrating Lightning Network. Awesome. And there's all sorts of research and being done on that. That's really interesting. SegWit also enables new features to be deployed simultaneously via soft forks in Bitcoin. And some of them that are coming up are really groundbreaking, such as Mass. Mass is essentially a modification of the way that we can do transactions to allow a lot of flexibility and essentially smart contracts. And we have all sorts of platforms that are building on top of Bitcoin and metal protocols, but also side chains. So I'm really excited about those technologies being deployed, specifically because it's a lot easier for consultants like me to sell the Bitcoin blockchain as a smart contract platform that businesses can build services on top of.
Yeah.
So the sales pitch is becoming easier, obviously with SegWit and the scalability issues being addressed. Those issues are not really at the forefront of people's minds anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of great stuff coming out of SegWit. That's pretty much it for SegWit.
Yeah.
Regarding just the industry feeling bullish, yeah, I mean the fact that Bcash split off is interesting because these were the parties that we were trying to compromise with and not coming to compromise with. And I always saw Bitcoin and crypto more as an opt-in, opt-out system where, you know, if you're not in consensus anymore, you just kind of leave.
Yeah.
There's no democracy, there's no voting, it's purely consensual, and it takes a lot of it. You know, the risk of splitting off to another blockchain is basically, it's not the same risk as switching browsers or going from Facebook to MySpace.
Yeah.
It's basically you're betting that your assets won't go to zero, that the value won't go to zero, and there's no stronger network effect than money, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if no one accepts your money, then you die of starvation, right? So the risk of splitting off is really high. It really requires a lot of, I guess, issues or perceived benefits, and obviously these people saw the perceived benefits much more than everyone else, and we don't have this compromise to do anymore.
Yeah.
So that kind of issue has been resolved in a way, but obviously we still have another fork which is coming up, which is SegWit 2x.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is that the point of SegWit 2x, and this has been told to me personally by some of its very known signatories, was that specifically it was aimed at avoiding a split. At that time, if you remember, there was a USF effort that was going on. We did the soft fork. The network didn't split because the miners caved in and because the economic majority and the users were clearly going to put a lot of value on that chain, and it was going to be more profitable to mine, and the risk of wipeout was too big. So the 2x effort was kind of like aimed at avoiding a split of USF and avoiding a split of Bcash. So we avoided the USF split perhaps with the NYA, I doubt that, but we did get the Bcash split.
Yeah.
And the Bcash split was caused by New York Agreement signatories, right? So there's specifically Roger Ver, specifically Bitmain, and specifically via BTC. And it's been disclosed publicly by ex-Bitmain employees, and there's evidence in some interviews I saw in Korean and recent presentations of Gian that of course Bitmain is behind Bcash, and they provide price support, and they also provide hashing power and hardware to Bcash. They also funded the creation of the client Bitcoin ABC, which later became Bcash.
Yeah.
So it's clear that some of the major NYA signatories have kind of broken the agreement. They're kind of often there's this other chain, and there's no one left to compromise with. So the NYA is gradually being abandoned by some of its members. I do believe that the fork is going to happen because at this point in the history of Bitcoin, the idea that minority chains will die off really quickly if there's no support is ludicrous, because like it's an ICO, right? It's an ICO, it's an airdrop, and any ICO, and this is an ICO that will have like Bitcoin brand behind it and Bitcoin companies behind it and very famous people behind it. So obviously it's going to be a very successful ICO. People are going to buy into that. It doesn't matter if no one accepts it, no one is using it. It will have market value. It's going to cause a lot of problems with mining again, chain hopping. There's going to be a lot of problems with replay. So I do think SegWit 2x is going to happen. Hopefully, the amount of businesses that are on it is very, very low, and then it becomes too expensive for them to maintain it, and they switch back to Bitcoin. So there is still this uncertainty. I see it as the last kind of stand. At this point, I use harsher words. I do see it as an attack on Bitcoin because of the fact that the idea is to basically push captive users onto a new development team that some businesses control directly. They control the developers directly, and pushing a narrative that they just follow the longest chain. So outsources the responsibility of making decisions to miners, so now they can blame anonymous foreigners for these decisions. But this is a narrative that those businesses are pushing. This is definitely something that's not good. I definitely see it as the fact that there's no replay attack is going to be really cause a lot of harm to the network. It's going to cause a lot of disruption, and I'm going to explain to you the scenario scenario of why this is a big problem and why I'm specifically angry at BitPay and Shapeshift, for example, in this debate. One of the big problems I have with the SegWit 2x hard fork proposal is the lack of replay protection. And this is going to cause, as I said, a lot of harm and disruption in the network. And it's easy to conceive how. So, for example, if you look at the way that Bcash and the fork was made, it was clearly, they had replay protection, meaning that if you transacted a Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain, you weren't necessarily transacting that same Bcash token on the Bcash blockchain. With no replay protection, if I make a Bitcoin transaction, anybody can take that transaction and rebroadcast it on the other chain's blockchain, so that I'm gonna be sending the Bitcoin and the fork coin at the same time. So you look at a company like BitPay or like Bills or Shapeshift that are accepting Bitcoins. It's really unlike, we have a symmetry of ability, capacity, and information where it's really easy for us to fork and it's really difficult for clients to fork. As far as I'm concerned, the only way to split your coins is going to be to mix an input from a freshly mined Bitcoin of one chain, right? So imagine they have like a mycelium wallet. You kind of send one input of a freshly mined coin on Bitcoin, for example, and you move all of your wallet to another address in one transaction. Since it contains an input which was only mined on one Bitcoin chain versus the other, it's consecrated on one chain versus the other. So it's a pretty complicated process. It requires you to have, or there's probably other ways to do it, but that's the only way that I know of so far. So what that means is that a lot of people are going to be sending Bitcoins and B2X at the same time, right? So it's not going to be quite as easy to, like if you don't want B2X and you want to, sell it for more Bitcoin, that's not going to be an easy situation to deal with. It's going to be extremely difficult. And one of the main problems is that, okay, for example, you look at BitPay. BitPay said that BTC1, so the B2X coin, is Bitcoin. So if you send Bitcoin to BitPay and you send one Bitcoin, one B2X, and one Bitcoin is worth on the market $4,000 US, and you look at the Pouliot and they're buying B2X at $400. So will BitPay credit your Bitcoin as B2X, or would create your B2X as Bitcoin, or how is that going to work? Is it going to split it? Is it going to accept it? And the worst part is that any business can just claim as a policy, I don't even care about B2X. I'm not even consider it. I'm just going to go on with Bitcoin, and I don't know what B2X is. I could say that, right? And I can accept Bitcoin and B2X. I can shuffle them around in my wallet. I can say that, oh, well, it's like 6 hops later, and they get split 6 hops later. And like, I'm splitting people's coins. I can keep the coin or not keep the coin. It's going to be a total disaster. It was local Bitcoins. Just they finally paid out Bitcoin Cash to everybody, but they said that not to expect that for any future forks. So the way that I see it, it's kind of shifting the liability onto the smaller businesses that don't really have all this big infrastructure that's legal or that's technical to implement this really complicated. Like they're forcing everyone to become like coin splitting tools, and they're putting all these liabilities on us, and I see it personally as a denial of service attack on the Bitcoin businesses, because it's literally denying service to our other users, right? Well, you can already see that businesses are getting fed, like they're already saying, well, we're never going to do this again. We'll do this the one time because people didn't know how to deal with it, but now businesses are forming policies around this. And you're right, like businesses like yourself, they shouldn't have to, every time somebody wants to split the network and create something new and do an airdrop of a new altcoin, businesses shouldn't be liable to provide that. I don't think they are, but it's the narrative that's been developed, and narratives are very powerful, and they get institutionalized through these exchange policies and through these letters that are signed. So that's the last bit of uncertainty, I think, is, okay, so there's kind of this last-ditch effort, which seems kind of desperate, to split the network again and to remove Bitcoin Core, which is, as we're discovering from leaked emails, and this is something that I had witnessed in person, but we don't usually leak emails, and there was emails that were unfortunately leaked, but this is something that I've witnessed in person, is that it's all about removing Bitcoin Core. It's all about this perceived developer group which is blocking some business models, or they don't have the same vision. So this is the last ditch effort. As soon as we're past that, so either the SegWit 2x, hopefully fork, is abandoned, and the way to do that is 4 or 5 people, Stephen Pear, Eric Voorhees, Jeff Garzik, Mike Belshi, all the guys that are really pushing for it, they just need to say on Twitter, you know, guys, it was a bad idea. Let's just wait another year or something and figure it out.
Yeah.
That's option one. The option two is that there's a fork and that it becomes kind of like a Bcash, right? It's some kind of altcoin which only has speculative value and everybody is kind of on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So after we're done with 2x, with all these amazing smart contract technologies and this rising demand for Bitcoin and kind of the global economy increasing in volatility and danger and risk, yeah, I'm super bullish for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So
well, and it's nice because it, like you said, it is kind of this last ditch effort, and it's this final hurdle to get over, because if the Bitcoin Cash split and then the Bitcoin 2x split are unsuccessful in capturing the majority of market share, then it sets a precedent moving forward as to what will happen every single time there's a pushed split.
Yeah.
And I'm super happy to be past that and to have some certainty for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And the worst, I mean, the kind of worst thing that can happen out of 2x, which we can learn from, is a lot of those businesses claim that they represent users in making decisions about the protocol. This is kind of weird because I use personally Shapeshift and BitPay, and obviously I don't agree with their policies.
Yeah.
And really the only way to test that is if they find themselves on another chain which is not compatible, like I'm gonna have to quit using their service. I'm not gonna do that until they actually fork off, right? So maybe, just maybe, if they do that, they will realize after all that no, they did not, like, they weren't delegates of their users, and that and they may learn the hard way that they can't make those arbitrary decisions, and that's something positive that could come out of that. But we'll see. I really think Bitcoin is anti-fragile, but at the same time Bitcoin is made of people, so Bitcoin isn't anti-fragile by itself, right? It's not a magic property. It's just that the community needs to continue to fight back. This is like, we fighting back is anti-fragility. So anti-fragile, like, we need to be active in order to keep the system resilient. So let's not expect it to be some kind of magic property which is in the code. It's humans running the code and individually absorbing a little portion of the risk that make the system, you know, decentralized and working.
Awesome.
I never wanted for you. I never called except for a drunk call in a late note in a long walk.
All right, we have successfully made it back down the mountain. Hell of a view here. Francis, thanks for showing me around.
It was my pleasure.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm hoping that I get back to Montreal ASAP. I'd love to get back out east. But thanks for chatting with me. I had a blast hiking up the mountain and chatting all things Bitcoin with you, and I'm happy to see brighter things on the horizon for Bitcoin in the future.
Me too. Me too.
So yeah, I will. I'll call on you the next time I'm in town, and I'm sure.
Please do. Anybody that comes to Montreal, please let me know. We're building a really nice big hub downtown Montreal, just like the Bitcoin Embassy was before. So
awesome. If
you're in town, it should be up in 3-4 weeks. So if you're in town, just DM me on Twitter, and I'll invite you to stay over at our hub.
Awesome. And where can people find you? Just so.
Twitter. So Francis Pouliot _.
Awesome. And bills.com, BYLLS.com, or Satoshi Portal in one word.com, or Catallaxy, 2 L's and a Y.com.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, man. I'm sure I'll be talking to you soon.
See you later.
I'll see you guys next time on BTC Sessions. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. And yeah, see you next time.
Bye-bye.
When I love you was a word there, well, we both know what's there. Yeah, we know.